Hey everybody, it is Lori Bradley, and I am an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator in St. Louis, Missouri. And we are here tonight. Usually I do lunch with Lori, and so I'm trying something a little different. Actually, I had to do something different because I had to do a pickup today at noon. So I wasn't able to do my usual lunch with Lori time. But tonight I am going to do, what did I call it? Late dinner with Lori. Hopefully you can, the lighting will be a little different because I don't have any afternoon sun coming in the window, but hopefully everything goes well. I decided to start a little different and show my face. I'm always a little nervous about that, but I'm going to switch it back over to my hands in just a minute, and we are going to get started. This weekend I did a class with my friend in Canada, Sue Phillip. If you're Canadian and you're watching me, Sue is awesome. She's an awesome demonstrator. She was a great partner for me to work with, and we did a class. We called it our Friendship Collaborative, and we did 2 classes actually, along with some bonus projects. So the ladies who were involved got lots of extra things. We did a One Sheet Wonder extra video. We made a box to put our cards in, which was so cool. We did Labeled with Love, and we did Country Flowers. And so we did those 2 classes, and I'm going to show you one of them tonight, and it's free for you all to watch. You won't get the card packets in the mail unless you place an order, but you can watch and hang out for free. So let's get started. I do love a little bit of free stuff. So I'm going to switch my camera. Hopefully it doesn't get too crazy. I'm going to turn it up, and then I'm going to switch the camera around so you can see my cards. Sorry, my finger's in the way as well. My cards moved. All right, here we go. If you are joining me and you were at our class over the weekend, let me know what you thought, if it was a good thing, if it was a bad thing, if you had fun, what was your favorite thing. I'm having trouble getting all my stuff in my screen. Hang on just another second. Let's try that. Does that help? That'll help. Sorry, I don't normally move my stuff around. Okay, let's get started. These were Sue's cards that we did on Saturday. We did Sympathy, Love, Lucky to Know You, Best Friend Ever. We used most every stamp in the stamp set. So we're only going to make 3. We are not going to make this one today. Whoops, I knocked it off. We're not going to make this one. But we are going to make the other 3 tonight. So Misty Moonlight, Petal Pink. This is a great color scheme. It's one of my favorites actually. But we used little bits and pieces of the Country Lace Designer Series paper, except for on this one we used the Country Woods Designer Series paper. So that one's a little bit differently, and I'm going to show you something really fun, a fun technique to stamp directly on your Designer Series paper for this one. Okay, let's get going. Here we go. All right, let's start with this guy. I'm going to switch it up just a little bit different than what we had on Saturday. We're going to have a Petal Pink card base, and I made mine long, so it's a vertical fold. And just right off the bat, I'm going to tell you a little tip, and we may have talked about this before, but it's always curious. People are always curious, which way should I fold my cardstock? If you look at it one way, if it's been scored, there's kind of a dip, and on the other side it's more of the mountain, like the mountain in the valley. When you fold it, you want to fold it away. This is the ditch. Fold it away from the ditch so that you don't fall in the ditch. That's the easiest way to remember that. So don't fall in the ditch. So we're going to fold that, sit that like that, and then we have our gray panel. We have a strip of Designer Series paper that we're going to glue on, and then we have a Misty Moonlight piece, a white panel, and then I actually went ahead and I stamped the black flowers and die cut those, so you didn't have to watch me do that part, but I just realized I don't have smoky slate ink. Luckily luckily my cabinet is right next to my workstation. Oops. Sorry about that. All right, so we're gonna start with our panel, with our gray panel. Goodness gracious. Evening may not be my thing. All right, so we are going to stamp the leaf stamp just randomly around our cardstock. So we're just going to put those leaves randomly around the outside, as many or as little as you want, but just keep in mind that it's not going to show from the center because you're going to cover up that centerpiece. So you just need around the edges and then maybe a tiny little edge of a leaf. All right, and that's all for the smoky slate on that one, which makes your own, makes it look, hey Sue, glad to see you. We're making your cards. I hope that that's okay. If you like, I already gave her credit, but make sure if you like the cards, if you're in Canada, that you check her out because Sue is awesome. All right, so we're gonna put our smoky slate panel onto our card base. And I did switch this one a little bit. I added another layer. Go ahead and put that on there. And then I'm gonna go ahead with the designer series paper as well. Go ahead and attach that. And when I do designer series paper, I do like to use the liquid glue because of the wiggle room. I'm getting ready to send out my very first, I am a matter. Yes, I am. And I made a mat out of that gray piece. I did. I'm getting ready to send out my very first invitation for a Fun Fold class. And it is a free, exclusive online class that if you spend $50 in my online store, or send me your order in a month, then the next month you are invited to my Fun Fold class. So the first one is coming up in July, but if you spend $50 in July, then you will get invited to my August class. So I'm looking forward to that. Trying to decide which Fun Fold I'm gonna make for July, but if you spent $50, you will be receiving an email invitation probably later tonight, so you can look for that. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna stamp this flower pail and I'm gonna put it right towards the bottom. Stamp that in the Memento Black because I am gonna use the alcohol markers. And when you use alcohol markers, you need to use the Memento. I'm gonna put the lid back on before I get my elbow in it because that is what happens to me. All right, but we're gonna color our bucket. Actually, we're not gonna put away our ink. We're gonna stamp Flower Market right across the front. Pay attention very closely. And it's just gonna go right on the front. Okay, now we're actually gonna put our ink away and we are going to color our bucket with the Smoky Slate blends. And I cannot do that straight, so I have to turn mine sideways. Actually, let me show you my marker. My marker tip, I'm not sure if you can see that. My marker tip is a little bit frayed on the end, and that is from someone using my markers who pushed a little too hard. So unfortunately, I'm gonna have to flip it around to the marker side of it and try again. So the tip to using blends is be very, very light, very, very light touch. Just no need to push very hard. And we're just gonna add a little shadow. After we have the dark side, then we will come back in with our light Smoky Slate and color the rest of that, and we'll add a little bit of shadow to that. You can make it as dark or as light as you want. And then I'm gonna just color the top part with the light. So kind of turn your marker a little bit sideways. Just don't push very hard. That's the key. You can make light and dark on this as well, if you so choose. I'm just gonna leave it as a light one. And then, if you'd like to make it look like it is sitting on the table, you can take your blend and just add a little bit of a gray line here. Now, that's kind of a serious line. So we want to blend that a little bit. So we're going to take our ink lifter, the color lifter, and we're going to just go along in there and kind of just squish that around, for lack of a better word, and just make it blend a little bit so that the color fades and doesn't look like such a harsh line. And it'll look like it is sitting on a shadow, a little bit of shadow underneath the bucket. All right, and then we already have our flowers stamped and die cut because my table shakes way too much when I have die cuts. So let's just color our flowers, and there is no rhyme or reason to what is right. I'm just gonna start with my petal pink, and I'm gonna make the big one petal pink. And just a light, I'm gonna do that one a solid color. And then, let's see. I have, out here I have Calypso Coral, I have Petal Pink, and I have Pool Party, and then I have Olive, Old Olive. I had to laugh at my class the other day because that was one of the things that Sue said was, oh, Old Olive's one of my favorites, and I just shake my head because Old Olive has never actually been one of my favorites. Most of my ladies would tell you it's one of my least favorites, but I have to admit, I have kind of used it a lot lately, and it's growing on me. But don't tell all my ladies, they won't believe you. Okay, so I've got my dark Calypso Coral. I'm gonna shade it a little bit with the light. Go ahead and pull that dark around. And really, when you color flowers, no two flowers are ever exactly alike, so they can be whatever color you want them to be. There we go. I don't usually do Facebook Lives in the evening. If you're watching and you're usually a lunch watcher, do you prefer lunch? Do you prefer evening? What, Lunch with Lori was just my catchy little thing, but I can, actually lunchtime is typically an easier time for me to do this, but if you're, maybe I need to do both. Maybe I need to do daytime and evening. That'd be crazy. Get double the classes that way. All right, and then let's make this guy Pool Party. We'll go ahead, this big guy. I'm not sure what kind of plant this is, but he's gonna be a pool party. I'm just gonna go along the seams or along the lines with the darker Pool Party, where I might want a shadow. And then we'll color the light. Pull that color so you've got some dimension to your coloring. It's almost the 4th of July. I hope everybody has big, exciting barbecue plans or something like that. Our family does not have barbecue plans this year. One of our children, our middle son, and his wife are buying a house, and so we are actually headed to them to help them move. So I hope I at least get a little bit of, a burger or something out of that. We'll see how that works out for us. Actually, oh my goodness, this is my Old Olive marker that doesn't work. This one needs to go in the trash. And I forget about it every time that I have 2 sets, and I never know which one it is. My in-laws, so my husband's parents, live in a villa, and last year they had to get rid of their grill. The insurance was not going to continue with the villa if people did not get rid of anything that had an open flame. And so they had to get rid of their brand new grill. And so they brought it to us, which really we didn't need, but they brought it over so that they didn't have to throw it in the trash. And now it can go off of my patio because we are going to take the grill to Colin and Olivia, which will be super exciting. So now maybe I will get a grilled burger for the 4th of July. We'll see. We'll see. Okay, so we have our country flowers. And we're going to go ahead and put that on. And I'll show you why I'm putting that on first in just a second. Because we're going to put our words kind of off the side, and we don't want those to hang off or be covered by the flowers. So I'm going to add a little loop of ribbon just around the outside edge, or just a little loop. And it's going to be taped right on the back. It's kind of like a little tab, I think. And put this right on the back of that piece. Right about there is probably good. There we go. All right. Although I think that's a little long. I don't want it to stick out all the way. I just want a little peek. Okay. So we have our ribbon. Now I'm going to put this piece on dimensional so that this bulky ribbon, which is not really bulky, but it would cause some grief with the adhesive. So we're just going to go ahead, put dimensionals on the back, and then we're going to put that piece onto our card front. And we're almost done. The only thing we have left is the sentiment. Okay. I'm going to put that over kind of to the left on my Misty Moonlight panel, so we have room for our words up here. Now, I just have to find my little petal pink scrap, and we are going to stamp this again in the Memento. All of my ink tonight is the Memento ink because everything actually matches with the black. All right, so we're going to do Best Friend Ever, and we're just going to stamp that kind of along the bottom edge of my little scrap piece. And it doesn't matter if it's straight, thank goodness, because that is definitely not straight. And I'm going to take my paper snips and I'm going to trim those words apart. So I'm just going to go up and then across and then cut them into sections. So we're going to cut it all the way across and then down my scrap, and then we're just going to cut it Ever, friend. Probably if I cut that on the period, it would not show, but we're not going to do that. Okay, so we're going to start with the best. I'm going to put that on first. I do. I just got my nails done yesterday, and so I chose patriotic. I did the red, white, and blue. My toenails are blue, and I figured red is Christmas and 4th of July. That's about the only time I do red. It's not my usual. So, so I thought, why not have a little fun? All right. Okay, now this one is going to stick off just a little bit. And so since this white panel is raised, I'm going to put a small dimensional on the end so that it's the same height as the white piece. And I actually chose this scrap of paper because it had writing on the other side. I didn't realize it would show on my video. So we're going to put the dimensional on the end, except it's not sticking so well because I already put the glue, which was not very smart. Actually, if you have a take your pick tool, those help to get the backings off your dimensionals, helps you pick up your embellishments. There we go. Just lift that back right off there. So we're gonna just put that on there, and then we need ever, and I'm gonna do the exact same thing with ever, except I'm gonna put my dimensional on first. And I'm gonna put it on this side. We had so much fun with our class this weekend. I learned a new Canadian word. I taught an American word to the Canadian ladies. And if you know me, like in person for real, you know that I use the word cattywampus pretty regularly. That was my word that I taught the Canadian ladies. Hopefully next time I can teach them another word. And the word that I learned that was Canadian was toque, T-O-Q-U-E. And the first time I heard it, I thought the guy was calling me a bad name. And no, it was just, it's a hat. It's a knitted or crocheted, I'm not sure which, hat. So a winter hat. So obviously in Canada, that's an important thing to have. All right, so the last thing I'm going to do with this is I'm going to embellish it with some smoky slate and basic gray pearls, and you can do that wherever you want. You know what? I'm actually maybe just going to put one. I'm going to put the flower center as a pearl. Since I have that ribbon on there, I think I'm just going to leave the pearl as the embellishment on there. So there's card number 1. So a little different, kind of this, very similar to the one that we did in our class, but a little bit different. I added a mat and changed the direction of the card and made it a long fold. Okay, let's move on to card number 2. We're not going to color anything on this one, but I am going to show you something that's kind of cool. I need my trimmer or scoring board, whichever the case may be. If you have a scoreboard, which is the big thing, then you are welcome to use that. But we are going to make a note card, and it's going to be a little sympathy note card. And I actually did this part. I die cut this piece and I die cut the stool already. But I'm going to show you how I did that, because these are both straight out of the designer series paper, and you can stamp on your DSP. So you can see, here's my stool. I stamped in black on my designer series paper. I stamped it right there, and then I die cut it, and then I flipped it over and I cut out the, I'm not sure what this is, the pail bucket, the bucket to put the flowers in. So those are out of the same piece of paper, but I did actually stamp on the paper on this side. So I just wanted to show you that because it's kind of a fun technique, and you don't have to color the stool or the table or whichever that is. You can just go ahead and use that, and so it looks like it's wood that has been weathered. Okay, so this is scrap. I don't need that anymore. I have my stool, and I have my bucket, and I die cut 2 sets of leaves, and these are wild wheat. And again, if you know me, wild wheat's not my color, but I used it. I'm a little proud of myself, so I'm using old olive and wild wheat tonight. Okay, so we're gonna score, and if you can see on here, it just adds a little bit of detail around the bottom and sides. Okay, we are gonna make this a sympathy card, and so I'm gonna wait to stamp the sentiment, and I'll show you why. We are going to score and make sure, if you have the Stampin' Up! Trimmer, the light color is the scoring blade, the dark color is the cutting blade. And remember that the deeper shade cuts deeper than the scoring blade goes lighter, so it's the lighter color. So I'm going to push that cutting blade all the way to the top, and I'm going to just score. I'm going to score at 1/4 inch and 1/2 inch down the side. And then I'm going to turn it, and I'm going to do the same thing on one of the short sides at 1/4 inch and 1/2 inch. And then one more time. To the third side, we're gonna score it. On those, so we have two score lines down each side and across the bottom. Okay, so I'm done with my trimmer. Set that aside. And now we're gonna stamp our sentiment, and this heartfelt sympathy fits right across the top. Fits right in between those score lines. I made these cards on Saturday. I was following along because I hadn't actually made the cards, and I was so proud of myself. I put away my stamps, I put away my markers, and then today I realized, oh, you put away all your stuff, and so I had to re-get it all out so everything's back on my table. So I need to stamp the with heartfelt sympathy right in the middle. There we go. All right, so we put that right at the top, and that way we know where our bucket needs to go. Okay, so the first thing that we're gonna put down is the stool, and the stool's gonna go down here like it's sitting on the floor, whether it be the top score line or the bottom. Doesn't necessarily matter. I'm gonna go ahead and put it a little closer to the bottom one. Again, DSP, so I'm going to use the liquid glue, and I have to be able to see where I'm gluing, so I have to lift it up just a little bit. Okay, so my stool is centered right on the bottom, and then I'm going to put my bucket, which is, remember, the back side of the thing, because that would look kind of silly to have it all the same. And then after we have our bucket on there, we're going to start placing our leaves and our flowers. Okay. And I'm going to do two things of leaves, I think. One on each side. So just some glue. Doesn't have to be a ton, because there's some slits in these leaves that'll let the glue come through. If you like the country flowers, I will give you a hint that my card club for July, yes, this is July, is the Country Woods Suite. Or the Country Birdhouse, I'm sorry. The Country Woods, oh my goodness. Yeah, the Country Woods paper that I just showed you. This paper right here is included in this month's card club. You'll get a half pack along with some other goodies. And I will include the link because this is a great suite. And it'll include some flowers. I have a little bucket of flowers here, okay, on my table. Actually a little bowl, fancy little bowl, because I started to die cut some scraps, and then I was like, well, I might as well finish this whole sheet of scraps so that I don't waste paper. Goodness, don't want to waste paper. Okay, now the dies that come with the flowers, there's a couple of different flower ones. There's one that is a loop that doesn't quite close, which is great. And I'm going to cut those apart, I think. Just going to cut between those so that I have kind of a curvy white flower. And we want to fill in the gaps along the top of the leaves so that we don't have space. So I'm just going to glue those flat. And there's no right or wrong to how many flowers that you put in your bucket. Put as many as your little heart desires. And then I think I'm going to take one of the other ones and go the other direction. A little bit of glue. So we're just going to build our flowers. The bottom ones I'm going to put flat. A little overlap is okay. And then I have some single ones in here too. I have a ton because I am going to use these on another card too. But of course the single ones are in the bottom. There's two sizes. There's big and there's little. And we're just going to mix and match. A couple of big ones, a couple of little ones. But we're going to put those on dimensionals. And I'm afraid I'm going to need to cut the dimensionals in half for this so that they're not showing too much. So I'm going to do that really quick. Okay. All right, if you're watching, have you watched the, no. Well, did you watch the, oh my goodness, Olympic trials? Have you been watching? There we go. Have you been watching the Olympic trials? Am I not sure what is even on tonight. Our family's been a little bit obsessed with the trials because there's a boy from our kids' high school who is a year younger than our middle son who is a track runner and actually qualified for Tokyo. Oh my goodness, Paris. Wow, I'm a couple years behind, I guess. Tokyo, Paris, someplace that I'm not going to go, I guess. But anyway, he qualified to run in Paris, and that was so exciting, so exciting. And he is an 800-meter runner, and he makes it look like just a jog around the block, and I would have been dying. Because if you know me, you know that I am not a runner. But gymnastics is also one of my favorite events. If I watch nothing else, then I will watch that. All right. I'm going to add one more right in the center, and then I think I'm going to call it good. Again, there's no right or wrong on how many flowers you put on. And there we go. So it's okay that this is hanging off the side because we're going to put the adhesive down this panel, and then there is a space around the outside. So as long as it doesn't hang over the card, and mine goes kind of just to the edge. So there we go. So pretty similar to the one that we did on Saturday, but the flowers, again, no two flowers are the same. So you can put your flowers wherever you'd like. All right. And then we have one more card tonight. Keep my white flowers out here because we're going to use those in just a minute to add a little bit. But we are going to piece together this card with the sending love. So I try to do as much as I can so you don't have to wait for me to die cut and that kind of thing. But I do want to show you really quick what I did. I stamped, I am going to stamp this one. It's already die cut, but I'm going to stamp it anyway. I'm going to show you how I did it. I stamped it on the designer series paper, just like that. But literally, ink it up. And then you get your paper. I'm going to put it next to the other one. And you stamp it. And this one has a die cut. Just like that. So it makes your, whatever you're going to cut out, a pattern. Or as our son used to say, pattern. All right, but since I already did this, I already die cut for you. So this is what it looked like when I first did it. We're going to take this, and I want to add a little bit of definition to this one. And at first I thought, oh, I will just cut out, so you can do it one of two ways. We can use it like this, and I'm going to color the handle and the spout and the little bottom, or we could take our snips and snip this part and glue it on. But I think I'm going to use this one and show you how to color. I'm going to use, I think the petal pink is too light. I'm going to try the Calypso Coral. And I'm just going to color the handle. I'm going to color it a little darker so that those polka dots won't actually show on the handle. I don't know if that'd be weird to have a polka dotted handle, but we're not going to tonight. And then I'm going to color right along the bottom, so it's like the Porcelain is a solid color. And then let's go ahead and color the spout. Okay, so we made our teapot. I can use that, and I can set that aside. And then we are gonna have the leaves that go inside or on top of the pot. That's the plant that's gonna be in there. So I know it's gonna be shocking, but I'm using old olive again. I have two just in case. I cut out two because I'm nervous. Okay. And this is the bad one, I think. I think I need a new set of old olive blends. I think that is the moral of the story of the lesson I'm learning tonight. All right, so I'm gonna just color the veins because the veins is typically a little bit darker, maybe along the bottom of the leaf. Again, every leaf is different, so, which is amazing to me. Amazing that everything can be so different. Sorry for the ambulance sound in the background. It is almost, actually, it's after 8 o'clock. They're supposed to turn off their sirens at 8, but sometimes they don't. We live on a main road to 2 hospitals here in St. Louis, and it's a pretty major route. And here, this one you can definitely see. I told you about the smoky slate one earlier. You can definitely see this one where it's all furry. That is not a good sign. So I think that old olive blends are on my need list. It's not even a wish list. It is a need list. All right, so this is my other one. So you can, the difference is crazy. You can see which one is good and which one is not good. You see the difference? They're furry. Yeah. Okay. So the furry ones are gone. Those are going in the trash. All right, so I'm gonna take and this one's not gonna color very well either. I think it's dry. Oh my goodness, this is the one. What are we gonna do? All right, definitely old olive blends going on the list. Actually, I have an order going in the morning. So did you know that there are online exclusive products that are not in our catalogs, and they are sometimes they're seasonal, sometimes they are just stamp set that they didn't get into the catalog. There are kits on the online exclusive. There's crafting kits, there's stamping kits, there's stamp sets, there's bundles, there's designer series paper. So if you have not checked out the online exclusives, you are missing out on a lot of good stuff. Last week on my live, I showed the Sweetly scripted stamp set, and it is so pretty. It's a long, thin script, and I used that last week to make 3 cards. You can check it out. My live video should still be available for replay, or if you can't find it, you can see it over on my YouTube channel. I have a YouTube channel, and those videos are there forever, so you can watch those whenever. And I'm just gonna take these and blend this a little bit more. But my point about the online exclusives, there is exciting new online exclusives being released tomorrow, and there is, I can hardly believe it, but there are Christmas things, there are Halloween things, there's a fall leaf set. I actually made a fall card last night with my demonstrator team, and it was a little bit of a struggle. If you know me, fall colors, not my forte, but we went ahead and demonstrators can pre-order, so we talked about the things that we could pre-order, but all of those things go live for the general public tomorrow. And I am going to assume that the Christmas suite is going to go very quickly. So if you are into Christmas, there's a beautiful new gold greenery bundle suite that is, it's so pretty. And Sarah Douglas and Shelley Gardner actually demonstrated that for us on our Mexico trip, and there were lots of oohs and ahs and excitement in the audience from the demonstrators. So make sure that you take a look at that. I will post the link for the online exclusives in this video link, but I wanted to tell you about it so that you could take a look at that. If you didn't know there were online exclusives, I will send you to the right spot. I am hosting a Christmas in July class in the middle of July. I did put registration due today, but that was because I was afraid that the products would become unavailable, so I want to be able to order those. Hopefully I'll be able to get more or have order enough so that I can have as many people as we need. And if I need to order more, hopefully that will happen. So if you're interested in Christmas in July, I will post that link and just sign up for that as quickly as possible so we can make sure that the products are available. If the products are not available, then we won't be able to add you to the class. All right, so for this one, I used a pool party base and a white panel that I've embossed with the eyelet embossing folder, the eyelet 3D embossing folder. And it's a regular size embossing folder. It does a 1/4 sheet of paper and blends perfectly with the Country Lace designer series paper. So I've got that panel. Now we're gonna start building it. And I have 3 different pieces of the Country Lace designer series paper. Actually, you can kind of see the eyelet on this one that matches that embossing folder. And then there's the petal pink. And then this one is super light, but it is basic beige. And that's one of the new, or is the new neutral color. So I'm going to kind of flip those around so they're not all going the same direction, so they're not too boring. And this piece is going to be a little bit longer than our white panel. And I use the adhesive, and that should hold it down. Okay, then we're gonna start building from the bottom. So this piece I'm gonna put right across the bottom. And that's the basic beige. Then I'm going to put my petal pink piece. I'm going to overlap it just a little bit and put it out here. And just keep in mind, this won't be ugly because our circle is going to cover that. Because we don't want an ugly thing that looks like it's not finished. What is that called in sewing when you have the rough edge? Oh my goodness, I can't think of what it's called, where it's rough. Selvage, I think. Anyway, I think, so that would be our selvage edge when we're not going to use that. The circle that I die cut is actually from the Spotlight on Nature dies. They're awesome. It's so awesome that the bundle has been out of stock, I think, 3 times. It has been in, and at first I thought, I don't need this, so I wasn't going to get it. Then I thought, okay, yes, I do, because these circles are awesome, and their edge pieces are decorative. They're really cute. This particular edge is one of them. It looks like hash marks all the way around the outside, and then this one that I'm going to use tonight has circles and little dashes, like dots and dashes. It's probably Morse code for some, I don't know, bad word or whatever. So hopefully that's not the case. So I'm going to use that. But anyway, it was out of stock. And so it came back, and I thought, okay, I'm going to get this. I put it in my cart, and then I went back the next morning, and it was gone again. It was so quick. So I waited. It came back again, and another customer had wanted it, and I said, I'm sorry, it's not available. It became available. I sent in an order with just those 2 stamp sets, or those 2 bundles, because it was that important. Oh my goodness, I just dropped. Oh dear. Just dropped my ink pad. That was terrible. And I did not cut extra, so we're gonna pretend. We're gonna pretend for a minute. I have another circle. Let me get my other circle. It's not the same size, but let me grab it. Because I don't own the stamp set in the bundle yet, it has not been delivered, I had to borrow my friend Sarah's, and I returned it to her last night. I had this cut and ready to go. So we're gonna just do our teapot a little different. Let me make sure that it actually fits. It should be fine. Yeah, it'll be okay. I got ink on there too. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. All right, so let's go back and do what I talked about to begin with. We're just gonna cut this teapot. We're gonna get rid of most of that black. And we're gonna glue it right there. This card will not get sent to anyone. And I'm gonna pull out the pretty one at the very end. There we go. So that's what it would look like if we did it that way. But again, I think I need to go ahead and color my handle. That is the first time that has ever happened to me right here on a live video, because why wouldn't that be when it happens? Okay. Let's try this again. So we put our teapot here. Let's stamp our words. Now I'm thrown off. I'm having a hard time here. And I'm not even tying a bow, for heaven's sakes. All right, so we're gonna put stamp sending love, and I'm gonna stamp that over on the right side. Over to the right, because this side is gonna be covered by that circle. I'm gonna place it together. Actually, can we get by with this? I think we might be able to. Can we place our plant in the right spot that it will cover? Oh my goodness, look at that. We will cover all of the black spots. No, we won't. All right, I'm not gonna make you wait on me die cutting. We'll be okay. Well, that was frustrating. All right, so I'm gonna put some glue just on the bottom leaves. Nothing like sucking the air out of the room, right here. I'm gonna put the leaves on. Not sure if there's a right or a wrong, but if you put it a little angled, it looks like some one of those monsters from Fraggle Rock where they had the part down the middle and the hair that goes on each side. That's what it looks like. That's what we're gonna do. So I think when I put this on here, it's gonna cover my big boo-boo. Thank goodness. Okay, so let's dimensional those. Anybody else ever done that? You dropped your ink pad directly on your project? Now I can add that to my list of things that have happened to me. There we go. Now we won't even know, except for the fact that it's on my card. So I'm going to just leave it and not worry about it. All right, so we'll put down our, we won't. I've got my sending love, so that's angled over the edge of the petal pink lace. Like, whoa. petal pink lace. I die cut one of the teapot lids just out of plain petal pink, and that's on a tiny little dimensional right up here, like it's a little jaunty hat. The circle is on dimensionals. The flower pot along with the leaves are on dimensionals, and then the only thing that's left is it needs a little embellishment. And actually, let's put some flowers and some leaves. Let's put in a couple of leaves and a couple of flowers, just for fun. Get my flowers out. Okay. And again, definitely just small drops of glue. We'll put a couple of leaves on. Just a couple. And then we'll put a couple of flowers right on top of it. The old olive leaves, if you wanted to take a brush and kind of darken your leaves kind of the same as the plant, that's totally fine, or you can just put them as is. Let's just put one flower, because goodness knows I would probably mess it up if I tried more. Okay, so we're going back to lunchtime next week because apparently nighttime is not my thing. And then I'm going to use the pearl for the center of this flower. And there we are. We have 3 really pretty cards that are all a little bit different, all using the same bundle, the same designer series paper, except for this one. And there you have it. All right, so this class is free to watch. I thank you for joining me. If you spend $35 in my online store, I will send you the card kit to make these. You'll have to stamp whatever flowers you have in your stash at home, but I can die cut anything. I can die cut the flowers and the stems, but nothing that's stamped. And I can run the embossing folder. But if you spend $35, you would get all 3 card kits, and if you spend $50, you'll get the card kits, and you'll get invited to my Fun Fold class in August, because that'll be during the whole month of July. So I apologize for the little chaos with my dropping of the ink pad. So if you need a blooper, you can tell people, well, Lori does it too, and here we are. Anyway, next week we'll be back on Tuesday at 11:30 in the morning for Lunch with Lori, and I thank you all for watching, and I'll see you next week. Have a great week and a great 4th of July.